we're coming to the conclusion of our show. We always like to end with a segment called the If I Were Mayor segment. We like our guests to come up with a policy, an idea. Doesn't need to be for New York City. It can be for the greater America or the greater good or anything like that. What's some kind of policy that you would come up with if you were mayor, if you were in charge, if you could do something? So.
Yeah. Man, don't represent, the city, the community board. Put all the disclaimers out. I feel like as a coastal city, and one of the biggest coastal city in the U.S., we need to use our waterfronts more. And I mean, I'm sick and tired of living on the waterfront and having half a mile of concrete in front of me. Like, damn, realtor didn't tell me that. Shout out, all love, it was good. But I also live on the same block I grew up on Willis Avenue. Parents are 20 minutes away walking.
That's great.
But I didn't know that there was this area in Port Morris, and I grew up right next to it.
Yeah.
I thought the Bronx ended at 138th Street. And part of that is because not only what the area was industrial, but we just don't see our waterfronts as a part of our neighborhoods. And in the Bronx especially, we are cut off from the coastline because of just a mix of industrial or certain companies monopolizing the space.
Yeah.
Also, it's very complicated from the government side. There's more than 10 different agencies that affect the waterfront. It's an alphabet soup, all the acronyms. So if we could have like a vote mandate or some kind of like forums that actually get something done, we could decide in each neighborhood, in each district. Hunts Point can have one, Port Morris can have one, Highbridge can have one. They all have really interesting histories. They use the waterfront in very different ways.
Yeah.
But we can have developers be a part of the conversation. Should we build housing? Should we build a warehouse here? We can have like the government leaders be a part of it and drive it forward. But no one is really a champion for the waterfronts right now.
I am so glad you brought this up. I would have never. Every neighborhood in the Bronx, the waterfront is so different. You brought up High Bridge. I don't know if you've walked across the High Bridge, but it's an experience. And they're building that whole staircase thing there.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of projects that are starting to go up abouts along the waterfronts in the Bronx, but still, there's a lot more space to develop. A lot more. I mean, Forget the Brookfield thing. I mean, everything we're in front of your building. Everything to the left of that can be just completely developed.
Right.
What would you rather see? Parks or apartments or a combination of both or commercial? What would you want to see on the waterfront?
Oh man, yeah, putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
I feel we need more parkland.
Yeah.
And when you look at Manhattan, Long Island City with Hunters Point Park.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful what they did down there.
Yeah, and so as someone who lives, in a newer building right on the waterfront, I love a good view. And I also think there isn't a big difference with living, with having like 5 feet from your front door to the water, like the actual water, and having like 100 feet. If you had a park, green space that works better with the environment, that gives people a buffer period, and also with climate change that can help building owners to protect the assets, like when there's flooding and raining in the future, and the coastline is shrinking. A park, to me, it just has so much more of a return and protection. And for people who might live in like a penthouse someday, that's the goal. You're not going to see a big difference in your view or any difference.
Yeah.
Because a tree isn't going to block your view. And also, for New York City developers now, you have to build above the first floor. Like, you can't just have apartment buildings on the ground level anymore, because we're trying to make buildings better suited for climate change. So, yeah, I mean, and that's not to say that we should build parks anywhere instead of housing, or parks is always better. We need more housing. We were talking earlier about this. But when you look at the waterfront, the environment, just to me, I would feel like building a bunch of penthouses, luxury spaces, even affordable spaces on the waterfront without any green space. It just is a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And the parks department makes New York City. There's so many I love exploring New York. I've lived here pretty much my entire life, except in college, and I'm always discovering new stuff. And I think that I found it all. And one of those things is these parks. There's just these gems, like they're just all over the city. So I think that what they did in Hunters Point, they can absolutely do in the Bronx. I think that what they're doing something on 149th Street where there's going to be a building, a park, and then a building. But I want to see a nice big park like they did in Brooklyn, like they did in Queens.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you brought this up. That this is that. That's the best one we've had, quite frankly.
You heard it here. Vote me in. I'll open up the waterfront.
So you got my vote. You got my vote. All right. So thank you very much, Cecil, for coming. Thanks for everybody for joining us. And we will be posting this probably later today. I think the live died. But thank you again, Cecil. And if you want to just plug your handle so everybody can follow you and everything like that.
Yeah, totally. And again, Elias, I tell people all the time, even if you don't invest directly with me or with Mott Haven Capital Partners, I want Uptown, the Bronx, Harlem, Queens to shine. So please reach out. Like if you're looking for other opportunities, if your goals align elsewhere, I'm always happy to connect with people, either help you find the right realtor or help you look at some companies that should make up your portfolio. So that being said, Keeping It BX, Keeping It Bronx is my Instagram handle. I show a lot of small businesses there, a lot of neighborhood history, and I'm all over. Like I said, we can have a lot of other conversations, but just with the art scene, politics, government, startups, Keeping It Bronx is really the hub for a lot of that. Showing people places we can be proud of. Keeping It BX. Also, Mott Haven Capital Partners has a website. motthavencapital.com. You can catch me on LinkedIn as well, Cecil Brooks Jr. And open.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. And this was episode 3 of the Bronx Broadcast.